Hey you, yes you. Did you know that your past only exists as a memory, an imaginal act? And if that past of yours has had an emotional stronghold on you, I'm here to tell you, you can revise it. This is part 17 for why your past does not have to dictate your future. Let's talk about it. My main man, Neville Goddard, brought this lesson home for me when he talked so passionately about how replaying mistakes of the past or unwanted memories of the past are like reinfecting a wound. When I heard that, something clicked in my brain, and I realized that in that moment, the suffering that was happening within myself from replaying past memories or mistakes, that was self-inflicted suffering. That means it didn't have to happen. If I didn't focus on the things that emotionally pained me, then I didn't have to suffer. Now, there's a phrase that they use in psychology for this, and I think it's called reframing, but we just gonna stick with Neville's revision. Because what Neville basically teaches through his revision technique is that if there's something that emotionally pains you about thinking about the past, number one, you have to recognize that choosing to focus on that is a choice. It is a choice, but it's also you replaying a memory, aka creating an imaginal act. Law of assumption teaches only the present exists. The past and the future are merely imaginal concepts that we're bringing into the present. But if imagination creates, then it behooves you to understand that you have a choice. You can keep replaying the memories of the past and keep giving your body a taste of those emotional chemical reactions that were dissatisfying because you didn't enjoy what happened in the past. But every time you bring up that memory, boom, there goes that emotional response in your body. If you have the choice to choose between that and an imaginal act that is as expansive as you allow your imagination to stretch, that gives you all the feels of what you think your future self would live like and be like and love like, listen, the emotional response from your chosen imaginal act of living from your future self would be so much more beneficial, not just to your thoughts, but also to your emotional state of being. When you feel better about yourself and your life, you make better choices. You're friendlier. You're more approachable. You have more welcoming energy. You move more from the heart. Think about moments where you were getting what it is that you actually wanted and how warm and loving you felt in those moments, to the point where you were happy. You wanted to hug people. You wanted to give in that moment. That's what happens when the heart becomes open from those good feeling emotions. You want to give more. And so training your brain to live from the version of you who is already everything that you desire to be is benefiting you in so many ways, including your physical health, including whatever opportunities you're already tied to. Because you bringing a better version of you to those situations, you're going to raise the frequency of everything you're involved with. A perfect example is this guy that I met one time, maybe about 2 years ago, and he was leaving the gym, and we were having a really cool conversation about our workout. And then he just so happened to mention, yeah, because I ended up being in prison for about 7 years, and you know, the more he talked about that scenario, his energy started to go down, and I noticed that. And when I caught on to that, I told him, listen, if you're gonna tell your prison story, at least tell it from an empowering state. I understand everybody got situations in the past that they're healing from, growing from, all the things. But if you're ever gonna bring that story up, especially to a stranger, tell it from an empowering state. Because I know plenty of people who have had a history of having been in prison, but they came out better people. They came out with wisdom. They came out with more discipline. They came out with more understanding for how they used to move and why they no longer want to move in that way. And they came out as leaders. And so if you're going to tell that story, tell it from that standpoint. And when I told him that, something clicked for him, because he was like, you know, I never thought about it like that. I said, well, look at some of the greats in our history. People like Nelson Mandela. That man did 20-something years in prison. everybody who ends up in prison isn't a real criminal, so to speak. Sometimes it's just circumstantial. Sometimes it's proximity. Sometimes it's wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes it's I wasn't even thinking straight. You know what I'm saying? So when I told it from that perspective, he was like, dang, I never thought about it like that. Because Nelson Mandela came out 20-something years later and became the president of South Africa, the leader of a people, world-renowned leader, and someone that we can revere because while he was there, he never saw himself as a criminal. He saw himself, even then in prison, as a leader of a nation. And so it just goes to show that your past does not have to dictate your future in a negative way. If anything, let it be inspirational, let it be motivational, let it be something that you use as a stepping stone, something that grows you, something that made you even better than what you used to be. Stay tuned for part 18, where I talk about how if you could wake up a new version of yourself, who would you be? I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is your reminder. You got this.